Hi, it's Lea Michele here, and this is My Life in the Theater. Okay, here we go. I'm very, very excited. All right, we're opening up. Okay, this is very special. This playbill. It says the Broadway Theatre, which was the original name of the theater that is now actually, Les Mis was originally at the Broadway Theatre, and then they moved to the Imperial Theatre, which is where I made my debut in 1995 as Young Cosette in Les Mis on Broadway. I also played Young Eponine, and fun fact, I understudied Gavroche, which they gave one of the girls the opportunity to audition to be the second cover to play the boy in the show. And I was very excited, and I wanted to be the understudy so bad, and they made us all try out for it, and I got the part, and I did my understudy rehearsal. So yes, Young Cosette, Young Eponine, and also Young Gavroche. I had never sung in my life before. I had never performed professionally, but there was an open call in my hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey. The audition was actually in Englewood, which is the town right next door to ours. There was an open call, and my dearest friend, Chloe, was auditioning, and she, really wanted to be in the show. And the night before, her father got sick, and her mother asked my mom to take her on the audition. And I said, well, I want to go as well, and I want to try out. And my mom was like, you've never sung before, you've never performed. And I was like, well, I want to do it. I'm going to do it for fun. I'd seen 3 Broadway shows prior, Phantom, Cats, and Camelot. And I fell in love with Phantom, and I had the CD at home. So I said, I'm going to sing Angel of Music from Phantom of the Opera. And I went into the open call with no headshot, no music or anything. And I just sang both Christine and, is it Meg, who's the other character? Both of their parts of Angel of Music. And they called me back, and they told my mom, we're gonna call you. And I said to my mom, I said, I think I'm gonna get this. And my mom said, things like that don't happen to people like us. But 2 weeks later, I was performing on Broadway in my first Broadway show. And after my first performance, I turned to my parents and I said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I love this. And they said, okay. So now here we are 30 years later, back at the Imperial Theatre, which is pretty unbelievable. But I had the most unbelievable time in Les Mis. I remember every single thing. And even now, back in the same theater, the smell, if I close my eyes, I walk on the stage every night, and even though we're playing our own incredible score, all I can hear is da-dun, da-dun, and it's like, I feel like I could go right back into it and do the show. It's my favorite Broadway musical. It always will be. And it just opened up my heart and my mind and my entire body to this amazing business. And I love this show so much. So I could keep going and going and going about Les Mis. I mean, I did Les Mis with Ricky Martin. He was in it with us. It was so fun. The most incredible experience. I'll probably think of more fun things to talk about tonight while I'm on stage singing a song. Okay, I'm not gonna look at this one, even though I can't believe that this is over here right now. Here we have Ragtime, which was my second Broadway show. I had the pleasure of opening Ragtime in Canada with the original Broadway cast, where we performed there for a year before taking the show to Broadway. I worked with the greatest Broadway performers of all time, Brian Stokes Mitchell, Marin Mazzie, Peter Friedman, and someone, I don't know if you know her, Audra McDonald. But that was my education. I learned so much of what I know and what I do on stage and off is from everything that I observed working on Ragtime. Like, I remember Audra would come up to me and she would put her hands around my waist and have me expand my diaphragm and teaching me how to breathe properly. Or one day I was peeking through the curtain, looking at the audience before the show, and Audra came up behind me and she said, if you can see them, they can see you. But it was just so incredible I soaked up every single thing that I watched happen in front of me. And coming from being a part of Les Mis, which was already running and was a fully oiled machine by the time I came into that show, this was my first experience in an original musical, starting from the beginning and getting to be in the room with Lynn Ahrens and Stephen and Terrence, and having new songs come in every day, and songs that we love get cut, or having things added to certain scenes. It was an unbelievable process of watching something grow and something develop before my eyes, and having the incredible opportunity to just be on the ride and on that incredible journey. Ragtime also felt harder than Les Mis in a lot of ways. It was sort of, it felt like this is now a job. And of course, Les Mis was a job as well, but that was like summer camp. But this was like, okay, now I'm seeing sort of what this feels like, from more of it being like this real responsibility. And especially working side by side with Peter every night, we worked so closely, and I learned from that experience how much every single thing I do affects the person standing next to me. And we worked very closely with one another. It was a very beautiful and challenging experience. Everyone knows that Ragtime is one of the greatest musicals of all time. And to have been a part and be in that room where it was all created was so special. And I have so many memories. I mean, this was so many years ago, and I remember everything so clearly. I remember meeting Marin for the first time, and meeting Peter for the first time, and hearing Wheels of a Dream for the first time. I mean, to say that you heard Wheels of a Dream live for the first time in a room, I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. And for Ragtime to be back on Broadway right now is so incredible. It's a story that people need to know and the world needs to hear then and now. So I'm profoundly proud to have been a part of Ragtime. This was Buster and Chauncey's was an animated film that I did, but what was interesting was the music was written by Lynn Ahrens and Stephen, who also wrote Ragtime. So after having done Ragtime with them, this was so sweet, and it was such a lovely little Christmas movie that I got to do. And of course, anytime I got to sing Lynn and Stephen's music was such an honor, and they asked me to be a part of it, and I had so much fun. Fiddler on the Roof. This was David LeVeau's Fiddler on the Roof revival that came to Broadway in 2008. Oh my God. I was in Spring Awakening in 2008, right? This was 2004. After I did Ragtime, I really wanted to go to high school and have a normal high school experience. I was on the volleyball team and the debate team, and I was in the middle of applying to college, and my agent called and she was like, I know you're taking a break from working right now, but Fiddler is coming to Broadway and we think you'd be really right for that. So I auditioned, and I got Sprinza, who was Tevia's fourth daughter. I also understudied Chava, which was an amazing experience of being an offstage cover and having the opportunity to go on. And I really, really, really enjoyed that, and getting to understand that process as well. It was very different from understudying Young Gavroche. This was a beautiful production. Everything from the set design and to the choreography. It really also made me want to understand my culture more and where my ancestors are from. I was raised in an Italian household from my mom's side, and my father's side is Sephardic. And but I didn't know so much about my Jewish heritage, and being in Fiddler really made me want to learn more and understand where my family came from. And I'm so grateful for this experience, because it gave me the opportunity to really learn more about my family. And again, it was such a gorgeous production. I remember the set and the lights, and just truly proud to been a part of this company and to play that role, it was something that I know meant a lot to my family and therefore meant a lot to me as well. Now we have The Diary of Anne Frank, which I was in Fiddler, and this was happening in, I think it was Maryland, that I did this production in. And I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to go to college. I was accepted into NYU. Alfred Molina opened my college acceptance letter for me at rehearsals, but I deferred my acceptance because I was auditioning for Anne Frank, and it was a part that I really wanted to play. I had seen Natalie Portman's production on Broadway, and I was so blown away by her performance, and I knew that I wanted to do a play. I wanted to have the opportunity to, do something where I wasn't singing, and this felt like the right challenge. I definitely think that this is one of the hardest roles I've ever had to play. We did a lot of work. Rebecca Teichman was my director, and she's so extraordinary. I never left the stage, even during intermission. I was on stage the entire time. And Rebecca, to show Anne's sort of internal nervous energy that she couldn't expel, Rebecca always had me moving some part of my body throughout the entire show. So whether it was just like my ankle under the desk or my hand. And I feel like as an actor, I learned so much about my craft through this experience. It was also the first time that I left home and left my family and was living somewhere else. It definitely gave me a different experience of, being in this business, of not having work be down the block from where my family is. And it was really challenging, and it was really obviously heartbreaking. I lost the majority of my family and ancestors in the Holocaust. We had one remaining living family, the only family member to survive the Holocaust, my Uncle Leon. He was alive during this production, and just there shortly after passed away. So having the opportunity to talk to him and gather sort of any information from him that I could, to see the numbers on his arm that he had covered up with a tattoo. I dedicated my performance to him, and in memory of my whole, lineage that was so terribly, washed away by the Holocaust. So again, both with Fiddler and with Anne Frank, I'm grateful for those opportunities for, really being able to know and learn about my Jewish heritage. Where do we begin? The show that introduced me to my best friend. I started working on Spring Awakening when I was 14 years old. So it was even before I did Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway. I was a part of all of the original workshops of Spring Awakening, directed by the amazing Michael Mayer, Stephen Sater and Duncan Sheik. Both wrote the music and the book. And they cast me when I was 14. I got to work with the amazing Gavin Creel in the original workshop as my Melchior, and went through different versions of the show for over the course of about 4 or 5 years before we got off Broadway. And then in 2006, we opened on Broadway. Is that correct? We opened on Broadway in 2006 at the Eugene O'Neill Theater. And no one could have ever prepared me for what Spring Awakening became, what it meant to me, how it changed my life in so many ways. I always believed in Spring Awakening. I always knew that it was something so incredibly special, but still I didn't think that it would become as big of a success as it did. When we first opened, and this is a story that we talk about often, we didn't have people in the seats. We didn't have a lot of audience members coming to see our show. It took a while for the word to get out there and for everyone to know about this show that we were all doing and that we loved and believed in so much. And it was the Tony Awards. When the nominations came out, that's when everything changed, and suddenly people were flocking to the theater, and we had everyone from Steven Spielberg to Bruce Springsteen coming to see our show, and we felt like little rock stars. It was really cool. And it was also really hard. Playing Wendla was so enjoyable in so many ways, but also very challenging in others. I had to get beaten every night. I'm sure it would be many, many people's dreams to make out with Jonathan Groff and have to simulate a sex scene with him every night, but he's also incredibly sweaty, as many of you know, and wet, as he likes to say, which I can't believe he says that word. Doesn't he say it like every night in Just in Time? He's like, I'm a wet person or something. That's crazy. Well, I can attest that it is true. And yeah, I think that there were nights that scene for us was like fun. There were nights that it was therapeutic. And I think that there were nights that I was like, get off of me. And then my character died a terrible, tragic death. And it was hard to kind of live in that world every night. You know, the story of Spring Awakening is about being heard and having a relationship with adults that is both trusting and open. And my character did not have that. And it was hard to sort of have the story end that way every night. And I had to find a way each day to figure out how I was going to begin again and live in the world and tell the story. But I was surrounded by such an extraordinary cast and so many amazing people, and of course Jonathan and John Gallagher. And it was an unbelievable experience that truly changed my life, and I will forever love Spring Awakening. And we got to do the show again just a couple of years ago at the Imperial and do our reunion concert, which was so much fun to get to jump back in and see Wendla again. It was really awesome. Les Mis at the Hollywood Bowl. It had been my dream to play Eponine since I was 8 years old. I mean, every night when I was in Les Mis, I would look at the women that would come in and play Eponine and sing on my own. And I was like, I have to play this part. And I was desperate. And I tried to do touring productions over the years. And at one point I was gonna get emancipated so that I could go and play Eponine on tour. But this came into my life. I just left Spring Awakening, and just a couple of weeks later, Les Mis was happening at the Bowl, and I said, I'm gonna go to California. I'd really only been to LA, I think one time before with Jonathan a few years prior. I went to Los Angeles, and I was a part of this incredible cast doing Les Mis at the Bowl. Brian Stokes Mitchell was Javert, it was Melora Hardin. It was just so amazing. And to sing on my own, there's nothing like getting to sing, first of all, at the Hollywood Bowl, but to sing on my own at night under the stars. I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about it. I would go right now and get on a plane and go do that again. Like, it was so cool. I mean, that's what Eponine is doing. She's at night. She's walking the streets at night, and they had the little like ramp around, and that's where I did the walk. And it was like, and just the costume. I remember when I tried on the costume for the first time, like Eponine's coat and her hat. I wanted to put that on for my entire life. And the blood, I mean, I was excited about that. It was so fun, so cool. I would literally play Eponine for the rest of my life if I could. I think I'm a little too old now, but I still feel like I could make it work. So I might have to play Eponine like one more time. But I absolutely loved this production, and it brought me out to LA, which ended up really changing my life in so many ways. I only planned to go out and do Les Mis for, I think it was 8 weeks, and I ended up staying in LA for almost 13 years. So I'm so grateful for this experience because it made so much happen for the rest of my life. And yeah, Les Mis always seems to kind of pop back up, which is great. I have to play Fantine. We have to make that happen. Madison Square Garden. And then there was a show called Glee. yeah, I came out to LA to do Les Mis. I had met Ryan Murphy at Spring Awakening. He came to see the show. And in 2007, Jonathan and I were in Spring Awakening, and he said, I'm going to leave the show for a few weeks. I'm going to leave Spring Awakening for a few weeks to go shoot a pilot in Los Angeles. And I was really sad that he was going to be gone. And so he left the show. And the day he left, that we were about to start, the stagehands went on strike. And so no one was going to the theater. I was like, I have to go see my best friend if I'm not going to the theater and he's not here. So I called him and he was like, get on a plane. So I got on a plane and I didn't know anything about where I'd never been to California. I didn't know where I was going. I went to his hotel. I was just waiting for him while he was at work all day. He was like, I'm working on this television show with a guy named Ryan Murphy for doing a pilot. He said, come to dinner with us at night. And I went to the Chateau Marmont. I was wearing a purple silk dress with ruffles down the front. I bought it on Melrose Place that afternoon. And I met Ryan and I talked to him all night about Barbra Streisand and Celine Dion. And apparently after that, he wrote a character called Rachel Berry for me, which I didn't know that was happening. And when I was out in when I was out in Los Angeles doing Les Mis, I got a call that there was a television show called Glee coming and I auditioned for it. And I got the part. And Ryan told me I was the only person that he was seeing for the part, which I didn't know. And I said, you could have told me that from the beginning. And then I played Rachel Berry for, I think it was 6 seasons. I got to sing some of the greatest songs and musical theater songs of all time. We did over 800 musical numbers. This is a whole episode of my life. I loved this show. I loved this character. I loved all the songs that I got to sing, and forever grateful for Glee. This is so cool. This is the Rocky Horror Show, 35th anniversary of Rocky Horror. We did it at the Wiltern Theater in Los Angeles. I played Janet, and Matt Morrison, we did it together, which was so fun. I remember I shared a dressing room with Evan Rachel Wood, and I just was so starstruck by Evan Rachel Wood. I just think that she's the greatest, and she couldn't have been kinder. And this was so fun because in the middle of doing Glee, I hadn't done anything on the stage in such a long time. I knew of Rocky Horror and was so excited to get to play this part and to get to be back on the stage and sing these songs and to play Janet. So this was such an amazing experience and a really great dose for me of just some theater joy that I was really missing. Really, really awesome to have been a part of the Rocky Horror Show. It's back on Broadway again now too, which is so awesome. And yeah, I love that I got to play Janet. I think that's pretty great. Oh my God. I love this. Did you know I was Ariel in The Little Mermaid? Okay, this is so cool because, this is The Little Mermaid at the Hollywood Bowl. Getting to perform again at the Hollywood Bowl was so, so amazing. One of the most incredible venues in the world. I played Ariel, which it's now that I have 2 children, I'm I should have, I wish I could do this now with 2 kids. They would just love it. But I mean, Harvey was a part of it and Peter Gallagher. It was so fun, and getting to work and meet Alan Menken. This was just such a cool experience. And I think just such a great thing that they do in Los Angeles and at the Hollywood Bowl is these amazing nights of music and entertainment. And I loved playing Ariel. It's every girl's dream. I wore these beautiful blue gowns, and it's just, it was honestly such a really fun, amazing dream come true to get to be Ariel for a couple of nights at the Hollywood Bowl. Oh man, who's ready for this? A fun fact about the Funny Girl Playbill. This is Funny Girl at the August Wilson Theater. My 5th Broadway show that I came into in 2022. And yes, fun fact about the Funny Girl Playbill, the right side of my top lip is bigger than the left side because my son headbutted me the day before we took this photo, and I had a swollen lip. And we actually had to make my lips even smaller because it was larger. And every time I look at it, I'm like, does everyone see that I have a busted lip? But that's true. But that is not what you want to hear about with Funny Girl. Oh, man. I'll cry. I mean, this was such a dream come true. I had been living in California, like I said, for so many years. And my husband and I had just had our son in 2020. We were planning on living in California for the rest of our lives. I really had grown to love it there, despite my first few years of hating it in California. And then I fell in love with it and really just wanted to spend the rest of my life out there. But when it was the pandemic and we were separated from our families, I felt so far from everyone that I loved. I had just given birth and I turned to my husband and I said, I want to go home. And he was like, let's go. And we moved back home. I was hoping to do theater again. It just had been so long. And it's not easy to do 8 shows a week and do the Broadway schedule and routine. And it was something that I didn't even know if I could physically ever do again. Something that when I was younger just was so a part of my body and my muscle suddenly felt so hard and distant and foreign to me. But I had hoped that something would come along. And when I got the call to be a part of Funny Girl, it was just the greatest dream come true. I had wanted to play Fanny Brice for as far back as I could remember. Watching the movie, I mean, I will remember watching the movie of Funny Girl for the rest of my life. I remember what I was eating, what I was wearing, where I was sitting. It was Michael Mayer who told me to watch it, and it was during Spring Awakening. And immediately I was like, I have to play this part. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it will come, it will happen. And it did. And I hadn't done a show in so many years and was thrown, back into this incredible world. It took a while for the muscle to kind of rebuild, and I didn't have the real time to figure it out. I just kind of jumped out of the plane and was living my dream every single night. It was so incredibly hard. I had a baby at home. I was back in New York after being gone for such a long time, and I'd never tap danced on Broadway before. And and I don't know which one of all of those 3 things was the hardest. I was just so grateful to be back on the stage, so grateful to be back part of this amazing community and to be playing this role of a lifetime. I think that there are like 5 incredible roles for women, and I have to say Fanny Brice is definitely up there. So I often think to myself, when I feel like I can't do something, I say, okay, well, I've had 2 children and I've played Fanny Brice, so I think I can do it. And it's funny because last night during chess, which I love chess so much, and I'll talk more about that, but I love it. And I wake up every morning and I actually have a case of the Jonathan Groffs where I go, oh my God, I am so excited to do my show tonight. I've always felt that, but even in Funny Girl, it was hard, and it was hard leaving my son, who I'd never left before, especially after the pandemic of just being home together. But during chess, I was like, oh my God, I think it would be so fun to go back into Funny Girl just for one night, just to go back out there and to play Fanny. She was so alive and so all over the place, and her energy filled up every corner in the room. That's equally as exhausting as it is exciting to play a character like that. So greatest challenge of my life, but so beyond grateful, and so many memories. But the best memory of all was somewhere towards the end of the run. I would say I'd been in the show for about 9 months, and I looked out into the audience, and my husband was there with my son, and my son sat through the entire show, and getting to perform for him, being back in New York with the 2 people that I love the most sitting right there playing this part was the dream come true right there. And now, everybody, chess. back in the Imperial Theatre after 30 years. I mean, the Playbill story, since we're at Playbill, the Playbill story is the craziest story of all. That I found a photo of me in 1995 from when I was in Les Mis when I was 8 years old at the Imperial Theatre, and they have all the playbills of the shows that had been in the theater before, and right behind me was the playbill for Chess. And I walked into the Imperial a few months ago for the first time, and I didn't know if that wall had been taken down, and there it was right there where I stood 30 years earlier. I've since looked at the other playbills to see what they are and if they will also be a part of my future. It's Fiddler, so check. Chess and Cabaret. Blank space. Anyways, Chess. I'm having the greatest time of my entire life in Chess. The last time I felt this alive and free and fearless and present doing a show was 30 years ago when I was 8 years old on the same stage. And it's taken me a while to come back to that feeling, but it doesn't matter because I'm here, and I've gone through stages of stage fright or anxiety, and whatever it is, it's like I'm approaching 40. This is my 6th Broadway show, and I've taken everything I've learned in my life and brought it to this experience. And with that, I'm just having the time of my life. I play a character who has to bottle up her emotions and withhold. And I get to have a moment at the end of the show where I finally get to release all of those feelings and those emotions. And I have a beautiful reunion at the show with the amazing Mark Jacoby, who I actually worked on the original production of Ragtime with. So seeing him every night and looking into his eyes and thinking about our history together is so incredibly special to me. I have some amazing cast members in Chess that I worked on Funny Girl with. Of course, it's another reunion with Michael Mayer, my 3rd show with Michael Mayer, Spring Awakening, Funny Girl, and Chess, which I love Michael so much. So it's amazing to have that history and that relationship together. And also I got to have my dear, dear friend, Krista Rodriguez, come in, who is not only the most gifted and talented onstage performer, but backstage she has a little unbelievable talent of decorating the most beautiful dressing rooms. And she made my room. It's another reason why I never want to leave the show, because I often say that in order for me to get any rest, I have to go do a Broadway show because I have 2 children at home. And she made this dressing room so beautiful and so cozy. We were in Spring Awakening together, and I just love her so much. And I love my dressing room. and everyone that comes in too, they're like, this is the coziest room we've ever seen. So thank you, Krista. Working with not even some of the most extraordinary, unbelievably talented people on Broadway, Nicholas Christopher, Aaron Tveit, that I get to sing with and play with every single night. It is so thrilling. And I wake up every morning and I say, I can't wait to do my show tonight. And to play Florence, you know, I talked a lot about what it feels like, or what it felt like to play Venlo or Fanny. But Fanny specifically, just someone who uses comedy and her sort of exterior as her armor. And Florence doesn't have that. She's grounded in her strength and also her vulnerability. She's also the first woman that I've played. Fanny starts out, younger, and then she, we see her, throughout the course of her life, and she's older, but still it's starting at such a youthful place. This is the first time that I'm playing a woman, and don't even get me started on the music. Tim Rice, the legend, the great Tim Rice, to get to sing his music, and Benny and Bjorn from ABBA. It is so thrilling as a vocalist to get to go on the roller coaster ride of Chess every night And it's like you go through these twists and turns of the different styles of belting to, legit musical theater to these amazing pop song moments that we get to have. And it's so fun. And Nick said one time, he was like, the thing about chess is if you warm up and you get yourself physically and vocally ready, you just strap yourself on for the ride and the show takes you on this ride every single night. So no matter what I'm feeling, I just sort of buckle in. I look to my left at Nick and I look to my right at Aaron, and we just kind of hold hands and we dive in together. And I believe and hope that we are giving audiences a really just thrilling and powerful night of musical theater, which I know that we are. And not even to mention like the rest of the cast, or to mention the rest of the cast. They are unbelievable, the best ensemble of amazing people and dancers and performers. We have the best of the best in our building. The audiences are the evidence that we are doing something right, because everyone's having a really great time. I feel like how I felt in Les Mis when I was 8 years old, which is like, I just want to keep doing it. I don't want to leave. I love it so much. Don't tell the producers that, but I love it so much. It's the best.